Ingo and Emmet are two of the most popular characters in the entire Pokémon series. If you're from the western side of the world, which I can tell from my YouTube statistics the vast majority of you are, you may think I have completely lost my mind saying that, but it really is the truth. They may be extremely minor characters in Pokémon Black and White, but even before Legends Arceus made at least Ingo more prominent, they had been fan favorites in Japan for the longest time. Still don't believe me? Allow me to show you the facts. The year is 2010. Pokémon Black and White have just been released in Japan and will soon come to the West. Nintendo Dream, a Japanese Nintendo-focused magazine, is holding a poll on the readers as to who their favorite human characters from the games are. They have been doing this for years and will continue to do it up until this very day. For example, the Sun and Moon poll saw Lily beat Gladion to the top spot, Raihan won for Sword and Shield, and most recently, Kieran reigned supreme in Paldea. This time around, N is the grand winner, but what's much more surprising are the people in second and third place, Ingo and Emmet. In fact, if you remove the votes from male readers and only count the women voting, Ingo actually moves up a spot to take over the number 1 position from N. He is the most popular character in Unova among women, and along with his brother and N, top 3 overall as well. And considering N is a fantastic rival with one of the most interesting stories in Pokémon history, his placement makes sense. But Ingo and Emmet? They barely even appear in Black and White. The duo run the Battle Subway, the new battle facility of the Unova region, located in the gear station of Nimbasa City. While a multi-battle with the brothers would become mandatory in Black and White too, probably as a result of this popularity, they are completely optional to meet in the first Black and White, and I'm willing to bet most people never even met them. You need a win streak of at least 20 in single battles to encounter Ingo, or in double battles to meet Emmet, which is quite similar to past battle facilities and their bosses, like Palmer in the Battle Tower or the Battle Frontier Brains. But while those make for some of the most forgettable characters in Pokémon history, Ingo and Emmet captured audiences like few characters ever have. But at the same time, I can't imagine Game Freak and the Pokémon Company anticipated Ingo and Emmet would become so popular. But even during the lifetime of the game, when Black and White were the games to promote and Gen 5 was still the fresh generation, Ingo and Emmet already received some additional promo fellow Battle Facility Masters never received. The duo appear in a grand total of 6 episodes of the Pokémon anime during the Unova series Best Wishes, which may sound like a low number, but that is more than gym leaders Elisa, Skyla and Drayden combined. And especially those first 2 aren't exactly unpopular either. In the TCG, special decks and card sleeves were released with Ingo and Emmet themes, which again doesn't sound like anything special, but I went through every piece of TCG merchandise from the Black and White era and only 4 other human characters have received the same, being N, Skyla, Sharon and Cynthia. That's the level these characters were at during the Black and White days, and it's honestly kind of hard to imagine what it must have been like in the community at the time, especially in Japan. These 2 minor figures have just been propelled to the upper echelon of the Pokémon world through what appears to be the sheer love they received from the fans. But it wouldn't be the first time this kind of love will be temporary. Game Freak has earned themselves a bit of a reputation for leaving formerly popular Pokémon in the dust, for example. Zoroark was once the new Lucario, but currently it's just one of the many Pokémon. And the same honestly applies to the actual Lucario as well. They can't all be Pikachu or Charizard, I guess, and the same also applies to Ingo and Emmet. Being popular during the days your game is the focus doesn't mean you'll be popular forever. But somehow, Ingo and Emmet managed to defeat even the threat of time. During the Sun and Moon days, the duo received a full art card in the Team Up set, which is not only thematically fitting, but also extremely early, because while full art trainer cards are super common now, they definitely weren't at that level yet in 2019. The majority of battle facility heads are yet to receive a card in general at the moment of writing, let alone a full art, so this is definitely significant. But believe it or not, it seems like the peak of the brothers' popularity was yet to come. In 2021, both of them were added to Pokémon Masters EX, which is again exceptionally early. Mind you, fellow Unnovan Silent, who appeared prominently in the anime, or Bianca and Sharon's Black and White 1 looks haven't even been featured in the game yet today, and these subway bosses have already been present for years. Their reveal trailer is still one of the most watched videos on the Pokémon Masters EX YouTube channel, and the second most watched character reveal, only behind Gloria from Sword and Shield. 1 year later, the duo would receive alts, or special costumes as they're called in the game, donning these dapper suits. While getting special costumes is not super exclusive anymore, it still shows they're far beyond their colleagues at other battle facilities and even a good chunk of gym leaders. A few months before this release, Ingo had arguably his biggest moment in the series yet, his appearance in Legends Arceus. For many people, I can imagine this was their first time seeing one of the subway bosses in the flesh, because there's no missing Ingo here. He's the Warden of Sneasler, and just like your main character, has been transported into the past with his memory erased. While I was one of the people who initially thought this was the most random inclusion and a direct reason for their resurgence in popularity, it was actually the other way around. Ingo's inclusion in Legends Arceus is the result of a decade of being one of the series' most popular figures. And what also definitely helped for this game specifically is that Ingo and Emmet used to always be together, but are now separated, further adding to the tragedy of his tale. It's also incredibly reminiscent of what happened with Annabelle in Sun and Moon, another battle facility master who has found herself without memory in a completely new role. But that's a story for another time. What's much more important now is the impact of Ingo's inclusion in Legends Arceus. It causes tides to shift. Earlier this year, Pokémon Masters EX did a global poll on which chapters, called Trainer Tales, players enjoyed the most, and lo and behold, Ingo and Emmet reigned supreme and won the poll. Their special costumes, which I mentioned earlier, finished in a very respectable 4th spot, making them the only characters to be in the top 10 twice. Now, I can hear you thinking, boy, Japan really goes all out for them still, huh? But no, you're wrong actually. We in the West have adopted the love for Ingo and Emmet completely. If you only count Japanese votes, Ingo and Emmet are nowhere to be seen in the top 10. They made it based entirely on the rest of the world. Their fanbase is beyond dedicated at this point, but we can also say with 100% certainty it is a worldwide phenomenon now. But the question remains, why? How? What caused Japan to be so obsessed with these characters the moment they saw them? And how is it possible for that love to suddenly blow over to the rest of the world as well? Those are questions without clear answers, let me be upfront about that, but there are several key elements that I believe play a massive role in the popularity of Ingo and Emmet. The first has nothing to do with the characters themselves, but instead with their facility, the train station. Make no mistake, train culture is absolutely massive in Japan. It's almost unimaginable for us in the West. Densha Otaku, literally train nerd, is one of the biggest subcultures in the country, among both the young and old. It's a symbol of pride for many Japanese, as their train system is pretty much considered the best in the world with a landslide. They're effective, always on time, comfortable, they're the real deal in rail transportation basically. And that has caused a huge fanbase to gather around them. A fanbase so big it had to overlap with the other massive Japanese subculture that is Pokémon, resulting in these two becoming the favorite character of everyone who considers themselves a fan of both. That explains their popularity in Japan, and also why fans didn't need to see too much of them in order to fall in love. Their affinity with trains was enough. But that kind of culture doesn't really exist here in the West, I would say, at least not at the same level as in Japan. And yet, the love for the subway bosses made it overseas. And the reason for that is that while trains can't cross seas, the internet can. Following their discovery in Black and White, Japanese Pokémon fans took their love for Ingo and Emmet online. At the risk of my own sanity, I took a dive into the world of fan art and fanfic in the Japanese Pokémon community, and once again found the popularity of Ingo and Emmet was unmatched. On Pixiv or PixIV, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it, the two are the most used characters of the Pokémon series, leaving number 2 Cynthia on a pretty big distance. This all happens under the term Submass, which is a portmanteau of their Japanese trainer title, Subway Master, which has been localized as Subway Boss. And while I have seen some stuff I wish I had it now, I also was able to discover where another part of the appeal of Ingo and Emmet lies. They are such minor characters, such a footnote in the story of Unova, that they barely have any characteristics or personalities at all. And that has allowed people to fill in the gaps themselves, creating characters that Pokemon doesn't currently have from a canonical standpoint. They have often been portrayed with neurodivergent personalities, like autism, partly based on their obsession over trains. Based on Emmet having a Galvantula with act moves in the game, it became a trope that he'd have a boatload of Joltik lying around, and he is often depicted with them. Similarly, fellow popular Nimbasa City character Elisa often appears alongside them, showing them as much more friends than they canonically are. And following Legends Arceus, a healthy dose of angst and tragedy is added to their story, which is of course something that always fuels fan popularity. I mean, Shadow the Hedgehog made a career out of it. And slowly but steadily, this depiction of the characters started to make their way to the West. From Pixiv, it went to Tumblr, and other sites used worldwide for these kind of fanworks, and before you know it, Ingo and Emmet were winning polls in the West as well. Well, that is everything I could find on this meteoric rise to Pokemon icon status. I do want to ask that if any true Ingo and Emmet fans are watching this right now and feel like I missed something or misspoke, please let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel to stay updated on all my future Pokemon content coming up. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.